Hello, assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Unscripted with Hashim, where conversations are uncut, unedited. And today we have a special guest who has proudly served in the U.S. military for 25 years, and he is willing to continue to serve the community as the sheriff of Gwinnett County. He is now running for the sheriff of Gwinnett County, Georgia, in this year's election. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome Joesph Mark. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, doing quite well. First of all, I would like to welcome to my podcast. I know we've been talking about it for a while, and because of the time schedule, and we couldn't make it happen, so now we made it happen. So I'm glad for that, and thank you for being here today.
Man, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm excited. I don't know what the heck's gonna. I don't know what's coming down the pike, but we'll hit it head on. You know.
That's good. So what? I know about you a little bit because I've been knowing each other for a while, and I wanted the audience to know who is Joesph Mark, what you like to do, what your hobbies are, and your favorite music, if you like.
Yeah. So I wanted to highlight a little bit, when you introduced my background, right? So over the last 25 years, it has encompassed the military. I was a military police officer for about 6 years, got out. Well, I didn't get out, but when I got out of the Army, then I went into the private sector. I am a post-certified police officer here in the state of Georgia, but I worked in private investigations and securities. I had a firm that we worked for. We have a private contracting company where like my business partner, he goes all over the world. Like he's overseas right now doing, I think it's either counterterrorism or executive protection training. Yeah. So those contracts will come in through the State Department and their contractors, and then they'll pick who they want and so forth. So, I do a lot of the stateside stuff. I got a wife and 2 kids. Man, I got to tell you, I contemplate how long, it's going to be. Like, do I have to go to Walmart, Yeah. I'm a homebody now, man,
Boy, I bet.
Especially
you have kids and wife, and you got to take care of them, right?
Yeah, I do. My family is extremely important to me. They are absolutely my safe space, so.
There you go.
I'm pretty thankful for that.
What do you like to do when you're off work?
Wow. I'm very busy. I've always been busy. Okay. And, let me tell you, this is a true story. I had a printing company. I sold it in 2018.
Like a T-shirt printing?
No, you ever seen like the Kydex holsters, the plastic gun holsters?
Oh, okay.
Where they have like the graphics and stuff on them?
Yes, sir.
So that was the company. So we did like a good 90% of the market. I had a good 3-year head start before everybody else in the industry figured out what the heck I was doing. And I sold that to a company out of California. Okay. And my wife was like, "Hey, Joe, maybe you should take it easy for a while, And I was like, well, I don't think I was, 2018? I wasn't even 40 years old yet. And my daughter, Mia, was just born. And, my wife was still working at UGA in the small animal teaching hospital. Oh, wow. So for literally, like, she was like, all right, we'll just sit out like the summertime. Just retire out a little bit.
Okay.
Dude, that lasted like 2.5 weeks.
How were you able to balance your military career, law enforcement, military, and your home situation with wife and kids?
I waited to have kids. Mm-hmm. My wife and I waited because it was a difficult transition. I'm not going to lie to you. I was deployed quite a bit. I did serve in combat, and the military had a very profound effect on me. I left graduation night from high school. Like, I literally, honest to God, man, it sounds crazy, like a made-for-TV movie, but I literally gave my high school diploma to my parents, gave them a hug and kiss, and got in that busted up freaking Chevy Corsica, and they took me to MEPS. I didn't go to any parties. I didn't do anything. I had already signed up for the military and done everything. So
what year was that?
1998.
Wow. It's a while back. I mean, I have been only, 10 or 12 years old at that time.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
It was fun. I got to tell you, dude, I was a punk. I had an attitude. I had a chip on my shoulder. And, back then they were just starting to be, how do I say, not abusive, but not, you hear stories about them like beating you up and doing all kinds of stuff. And there is some truth to that, but it's taken out of context. So this is a true story. So my dad, when you join the military, they give you a packing list. They don't want you to take any more or any less than what's in there, right? So my dad's always been like, oh, no, man, it's okay. It's okay. We'll do this. So he had these yellow suitcases. I swear to God. He had these yellow suitcases. They were canary yellow, and they were like soft pleather, whatever, and they were just horrible. My dad was like, well, we're not going to use these anymore. You need something to go to the Army. I don't want my good stuff to get damaged, so I'm going to give you this from like 1967.
Wow.
So I showed up to basic training with these two huge bright yellow suitcases with all kinds of contraband. Contraband meaning like shampoo, conditioner, nail clippers, spare batteries, deodorant, like you name it, I had it in there. Like I was going to freaking Tijuana for vacation.
And how many, and this was the first day?
That was like day right? 1, minute 1. Wow. So I was a target from the jump.
So it's kind of true when they say you go in as a boy and come in as a man, and come out as a man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Dude, let me tell you, first of all, when you get off the bus and that they call it a shark attack. For me, that actually legit happened. Like, and I was not as sensitive as other people were. Because, you deal with people from all over the world, all different walks of life. Well, my father was a very no-nonsense parent. He grew up in New York, and he was like 3 steps ahead of me. If I had the privilege of getting away with something, it's because he allowed it, honestly.
And I think you brought up a good point. I think that's what we're missing nowadays is that kind of parenting. Yeah. And it, right, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but I know it's very lenient. There's a lot of leniency nowadays rather than being strict and bring out some good in them. But I know parents do try. However, the how should I say this? The situation nowadays is such where it can't happen. But it can happen. But the choices are there to be made. And I know you have served in the military and all that good stuff. How about what kind of hobbies do you have? Do you have any kind of sport that you play or?
Well, I grew up playing sports, and I was a horrible athlete.
Where are you from originally?
I was born in New York.
New York?
And my parents moved me down here in the very, very early 80s. Okay. Coincidentally enough, and I say this, I don't know, I have a Georgia Social Security number.
Wow. What did you have any father or your parents or any of your ancestors from Georgia?
No. They're from southern Italy, North Africa. So like Tunisia, Egypt, southern Italy. My grandfather immigrated from Abruzzo. He was Abruzzese. He was from southern Italy. Okay. My grandmother, and then my parents' side, my mother's side, they're all from Palermo, Sicily. And then when you do the blood test, the Moors and everything. I mean, Sicily was conquered for eons. So I've got Egyptian and Tunisian and Roman blood going back, like literally 2,000 years. I have a thing from the Genealogical Society that traced my ancestry to Mark Antony and Cleopatra.
Oh wow!
Yeah, honest to God.
That's
it's sitting on my.
That's really interesting.
You right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my actual real last name is Mark Antonio.
Oh, okay.
It's not Mark. When they immigrated to America, the people were just like,
how?
They're like, how many consonants and vowels is this? You're Mark, M-A-R-K.
How far? How far are we talking about?
Oh, the 20s, 30s,
wow.
1930s. Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time.
Oh yeah,
it's a long time.
Yeah.
I'm glad you are here.
Thanks.
And everything is going well. So, as the hobbies are good and stuff like that. So, we'll come on to how did you come into military? What drove you to be in the military?
I was going nowhere. I had to go to 3 high schools my senior year to graduate. I was bored out of my mind, like absolutely bored at school. Come to find out now as you progress, or as we progress as a society, there's indicators now. I probably should have been in AP classes. I was just lazy. Here's an example about how much of a punk I was. All right. So you're the teacher and you assign me homework. Okay. Joe, a class or whatever, I want you to read chapters 5 and 6 and answer the questions. Well, I would read it. Absolutely. I would read it.
But would you do it?
No, I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
Because in my messed up teenage head, I'm thinking to myself, you gave me this assignment to read. Why do you got to ask me questions? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That makes absolutely no sense to a.
So you did not remember it, however you read it?
No, I remembered it. I just had an attitude about having to fill the questions out. But if you asked me about it, I could recite it to you almost. Okay. But I just felt the need for whatever reason to be a punk. I don't know why. It's I look back now and laugh, but
it's probably the teenage years got to you, and I think that happens to everyone once in a while.
Yeah.
Right, and in their early ages. What about your? You did mention off camera that you were with the bail bonds for fugitive apprehension.
Yeah, so I had a company that we did. I had 13 of my buddies. They were all prior law enforcement, military, and as a matter of fact, one of them just went to the DEA. Okay. And another two.
So I'm gonna cut you off here. To those who don't know what DEA is Drug Enforcement Agency, which is federal.
Yeah, he went feds.
Agency. So sorry, go ahead.
No, that's cool. And then I had another two of my buddies. They were Marines. They went into back into law enforcement. They're sheriff's deputies now in another county. Okay. And then I've got another one of my friends. He went back to being a police officer. He's at a municipal agency. And then two of the other ones scattered back into contracting work overseas. So we did pretty well, man. I'm telling you, we had a freaking 94% capture rate.
Wow.
Look, it was high. Like, we'll find you. Like, I'm not.
So you guys worked hard for it.
We did, but it was fun. It started off as a hobby because, being in the military and law enforcement, and you get used to being around a certain kind of people, and your day has a certain amount of excitement in it. So it started off as a hobby to make a little extra cash.
Well, the thing is, those of you who don't know, if you once get involved in Army or any branch of military per se, or any branch of law enforcement, it becomes an addict. It becomes an addiction.
It really is. It's fun.
And you can't just let it go like that.
No, you can't.
You can't. As you know, that's what I deal with, and I have the passion for it as well, and that's why we're able to communicate well, I guess.
Yes.
Get along pretty well. And was there anybody in your family was Army or
my grandfathers both? That's how they got their
For U.S.?
U.S. Army. They both were in World War II.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you probably have a lot of stories, huh?
You know, they didn't tell me anything.
Really?
No, they don't. I mean, that was a nasty war, man.
Oh, I bet it was. I heard a lot about it. I've seen some documentaries on it.
They never said anything. Like my grandfather on my father's side was a tanker.
Oh, okay.
And my other grandfather was like on the front lines with like the Rangers and the infantry and stuff.
He witnessed stuff and he's seen things.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
That we don't want to discuss about them, right?
Probably, yeah. They never really talked about it, but other than that, you know, my father tried to join, but growing up, you know, he hurt his knee when he was a kid. Like, had to have legit knee surgery.
Oh, okay.
Where they, you know, cut it open and, you know, he slipped on some wet grass, he said, at a fair.
Well, that's the story we're going with.
That's what he said.
Okay.
I mean, I don't... And he said, yeah, well, I was at the fair, and he said he slipped in wet grass, and who knows, man? Sounds like...
It probably hurt. It probably hurt if he needed to get a surgery about that.
Yeah, he's got a scar. Like, it looks like a big old smiley face where they cut around the patella. Oh, wow. And, like, opened it up and stuff, yeah. Well, he's got knee replacements now, but...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you speak Italian?
Enough to get me in trouble.
Oh.
I speak more Spanish than Italian.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, I took Spanish in high school.
Oh, okay.
And I learned Spanish in the military, too. And my wife's family, they're from Mexico. My wife's first generation American.
Oh, okay.
Her parents are from Mexico. And we talk about the kids in Spanish all the time.
And
we're slowly starting to teach them because it's important, you know, to be bilingual, you know, and trilingual. Nowadays, a lot of these kids are speaking 2 or 3 languages.
You have to be multilingual.
You do.
And I'm glad that they're teaching that in schools. So when nobody's left out,
right.
They are teaching French, Spanish, and other, I think,
German.
Some in German. So
no Italian though.
It kind of becomes somewhat familiar ground for most of the people because they're aware and they know the language and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned about being deployed in combat. Which combats were you in?
The Iraq War. I was, you know,
Iraq. This war.
Yeah, okay. I was deployed all over, man.
Okay. I bet that didn't bring some good memories, did it?
No. You never really want to. Well, when you're young, if we're being, you know, candid, when you're young and you train for something day in and day out, you naturally, I think, want to test yourself. Well, be careful what you wish for. Because, you know, and you know what's crazy is looking back, if I had met these people like you and I are meeting today, chances are we probably would have been like the best of friends. But because my government, and I don't want to get off on a tangent, but because people in my government say people in this other government, and Saddam was a maniac. I mean, I saw firsthand what him and his sons did. Like the unit I was in, we cut the fence to invade the country. Like I was there watching the Scud missiles. We had the chemical tapes and stuff on the trucks. I remember it like it was yesterday. Really? It was freaking 20-something years ago. You know, we're sitting there in the truck, and they're launching Scud missiles. We're like, what? And like, you know, that's when it hits you. Mm-hmm. You're like, we've done it 1,000 times in training, right?
Yeah, this is
where
real.
You have like the entropy and the 2-PAM. You're like, pat, pat, pat. Nothing blocks the pocket. Well, shoot, man. Let me tell you, I'm lucky I didn't cut my pants off to put fresh skin. I was so waiting there like this for this. They call it litmus paper to turn colors. I'm standing there like this. We all are in the truck. Have no clue what's going on. You know, the convoy is like 3 miles long. It was absolutely bizarre. Just imagine being in a situation where you can do whatever you want. And I mean whatever you want, pretty much, within reason. And the only thing governing you is your conscience, your own personal moral compass.
And you have every right for it, right?
Huh?
You have every right to take that action if it's needed.
Correct. Yeah.
How is it compared to a normal, regular civilian? I know it's easy when people say, "Oh, they're just going to war," but I know it's different when someone from your family is fighting for the country and in the front line, rather than me sitting here because I don't have anybody in the military, army, or somebody in the front line for the country. I'm pretty sure it's probably hard for your parents. And,
it was
and your family.
devastating for them, which is the ultimate reason why I ended up getting out. Honestly, it was such an emotional toll on my family that whether you want to stay in or not, I can't speak for other people in their family life. Me and my family, we're very close. We may be in the same room and not talk to each other for 2 hours, and that's okay. As long as we're together, that goes the same with my in-laws too. Like, I'm very blessed because I get along. My in-laws, my mother-in-law, father-in-law, and my parents, we all get along. Like, we're actually a cool, big, cool family. It was tough on my parents.
Oh, I bet.
It was my mother and my father. It was tough.
I can only imagine that. And I guess that's the reason, and that's what drove you to serve the community as to run this election for sheriff's office in Gwinnett County. Is that right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny how it started. It started off as a joke.
Really?
Honest to God, because let's rewind. I've been campaigning now for on the streets over 14 months. I've got 6 months prior to that planning this thing out. I've always been a planner, right? Like, I want to check for feasibility. I want to have my plan, a backup plan, and 2 escape routes. For whatever reason, that analogy applies pretty much in all aspects of my life. So if I try something and it fails, that's okay. We adjust and try something different. Mm-hmm. So it started off, at the time, there was a handful of, I'm a state certified firearms instructor for law enforcement through Gillespie.
Okay.
And
can you explain Gillespie, because most of the people
it's the GL, Georgia Law Enforcement Firearms Instructors Certification, something like that. Okay. It stands for something. I should know. But I hold the certification in firearms for pistols to do that.
Okay.
So I would volunteer my time to help retrain, law enforcement officers that are coming up, because not all police officers and sheriff's deputies are out doing what you see traditional, right? You have a lot of admin and support staff where, yes, they have a firearm issued to them, but it's really just there because they have to have it. Their passion is in criminal investigations or sex trafficking victims or whatever, so they don't really care about having a firearm. Heck, in a lot of cases, I'm pretty sure most of them wouldn't even carry it if they didn't have to. I mean, let's just be honest. So they're always the ones that are like last minute, oh my God, qualifications coming up. I need to get my ducks in a row. Well, I think they had I know the exact number. There was a lot. that didn't pass. So me and two of my buddies who were also firearms instructors and another sheriff deputy, we volunteered our time and we retrained those deputies for free. My company paid for the ammunition, they paid for the range time, they paid for the targets.
Really?
Sometimes they would, some of the deputies, they would feel obligated to try and pay. And we really did try to just do it legitly pro bono.
Where was that? Like, which county was that?
Gwinnett.
Gwinnett?
Yeah, it was Gwinnett County.
Okay.
And we did. And I'm proud to say that every single one that we trained requalified, very, very high 280s, 290s or more.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear.
So we had a very good success rate.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Glad to hear. And I know running it for a sheriff is not an easy job, and you probably have a lot of tension and a lot of things going on with your schedule and the whole 9 yards. And I'm pretty sure you're a pretty busy guy when it comes to running for an election and campaigning.
Yeah, because I'm working a full-time job too.
Yeah.
So I'm working full-time and campaigning full-time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing that for the last year.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm literally having to think sometimes two professions, politician, which I even hate to say that,
What would you think that as you're running for the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, the elections in Gwinnett County, Georgia? What do you think that number one thing on your to-do list once you assume the office?
Number one we have to do is get the jail. The staffing in the jail, it's bad. I got to tell you, candidly speaking, I believe that they're bordering a humanitarian crisis situation. Now keep in mind, the vast majority of the persons that are incarcerated at that jail have not been convicted of any kind of crime. I understand that there was enough probable cause to get a warrant to arrest them. But if we're really breaking this down, and that's how I look at things, really, when I have problems or whatever, I try to break it down as simple as possible. So you look at this, you have somebody, a human being, who went out, committed a crime, there was enough evidence to arrest that individual and incarcerate them until their process, right? But does that mean that you lock that person up for 23 hours a day and put them 3 deep to a room with one individual having to sleep with their head literally by the toilet? Like that's the toilet. There's my head.
So you're talking about 23 hours a day in their cells.
In their cells.
And or
no showers.
It could be a charge of regular misdemeanor theft.
Correct.
Or just disorderly conduct.
Correct.
That would be locked down in a cell for 23 hours.
Correct. I'll give you an example. Now, some of them are pretty, legit criminals. I mean, let's be real. But the example of one I'm talking, I had an attorney. I met with a defense attorney, criminal defense attorney, and he had a young man that was arrested for criminal trespass, and the charges ended up being dismissed. But that kid was in jail for over 2 months. No prior criminal, nothing.
Well, that could be because you probably have nobody to bond him out, right?
He was waiting to get his first appearance.
Oh, really?
Like the prelim, yeah. Like his bond,
okay.
Yeah. He was not, that's how and there's always 3 sides to the story.
So he didn't have a choice, basically.
From what the attorney is telling me, that kid sat in jail for over 2 months on an arrest for criminal trespass. And the charges ended up getting dismissed.
Wow.
But he still lost his job.
Of course.
Was behind on his rent payment. Think about that. If you end up going to jail for something well, I say inconsequential. Everything's consequences. I mean, I don't want people to think that I'm not for law and order, because I'm very, very much for law and order. You know, you have choices and consequences. But what I don't agree with is mistreating people or getting overzealous when it comes to it, because we should be able to take the emotion out in law enforcement, right? They say it, but at the end of the day, we are human beings, but we should have discipline. Everybody is allowed a certain leeway, right? You got to look at it like a surgeon, a brain surgeon, right? If you want to be a brain surgeon, you have to live a certain kind of lifestyle. You know, you got to be aware of what you do with your hands. You can't drink alcohol a lot. You can't take drugs, you know? So you have to, the same should go for police. If you want to be a police officer or a sheriff's deputy and you want to be responsible for people, suspend all their rights, you know, or lock them up.
Do you think that person did not get first appearance because of the shortage of the staff, or?
I don't know the reason why, the truth. I could tell you what I was told. But again, you know, there's always three sides to a story.
Correct.
So when I tell these stories, I want people to understand that I am not trying to slander, sway one way or another. What I'm trying to do is bring things to people's attention, because we cannot get answers. It's difficult to get answers, the truth. You know, there's been more in custody deaths at the Gwinnett County Jail than the previous sheriff had in 25 years.
How would you take care of these situations?
Well, it's retention and recruitment. It's plain and simple. You cannot run that organization without the proper amount of people. So on normal shift, you need, I've been told, somewhere around 42 to 52 individuals to run that jail efficiently with the population that's there and everything, right? They have like 9 people showing up for shift, and they fill the other, 25. So they're running that jail on a skeleton crew, like 25. And I can read you, actually. I can read you an example of like a shift where they've got like 9 people that show up, and then another 13 or 14 are called in for mandatory overtime. And then that's how they run the shift. What? That's how many people are running the shift.
Okay. Well, so hopefully that stuff clears out, and
well, it's going to have to.
They get some more help.
I'm surprised nobody's gone in there yet. I mean, when you have I was told another story that, and I wasn't able to validate it for the longest time, so I didn't really talk much about it. But apparently, there was a detainee that showed up to court and he smelled horribly, like he'd been in out in the field for a month. And there was fecal matter on his uniform. And he was brought down to go to court like that, and the judge was furious. Called the sheriff down, and basically the sheriff was like, I don't have to answer to you. And I'm paraphrasing here, I don't. And up until recently, I wasn't able to verify the validity of that story. But recently I was able to verify. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being the sheriff and getting called down to court, like the principal's office, wanting to know why another human being hasn't taken a shower in such a long time, that they have a powerful odor about themselves, and then they have fecal matter on their uniform? Can you imagine that?
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that happened, though? What could be the cause of it?
Well, they don't have enough deputies to properly look after everybody. It's plain and simple. And some of those individuals are suffering from mental health, and they require a 2-deputy escort to get pulled out. They're in isolation or something, a medical cell.
So everything is coming down to recruitment and
Absolutely.
management and stuff like that.
And you hear the sheriff. So the other thing the military gave me is a thick skin, right? If you mess up, they're going to hold you accountable, and they're going to freaking. So you get really thick skin, and you start to understand it's called like, you want to own your mistakes, right?
Sure.
So you develop a sense of integrity, and you know what? Yeah, I did do that, and it was a bad mistake. Or yes, I did do that, and then you share the credit with other people. You teach a little humility, because it's always a team effort. Very seldom, very rarely do you ever do anything as an individual. And when you look at life in general, very few people end up successful without the help of anybody.
But how would you be the one can change all those? What do you think you can do besides recruitment?
Well, the fact that I don't have 30 years of police experience or 20 years of policing in Gwinnett County, to me, is an absolute advantage. The reason is because my diverse professional career, I've got management experience. I've led soldiers into combat. I have policing experience. I have private sector investigations experience. So I've been able to look at all of these things over the last 25 years from multiple angles. And, I believe I'm a natural leader, but I had somebody tell me once, what kind of leader do you want to be, right? Do you want to be the guy in charge that gets people to do stuff because they're afraid of you? Because they're only going to do it until whatever they're afraid of is no longer worth. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You're going to be a guy that gets people to do stuff because you're manipulating them? Or are you going to get people to do stuff because they've become vested emotionally in it? Like they want to be a part of whatever you're trying to lead them into. So I've always tried to lead by example. I've always tried to lead, with compassion and understanding, and just let people do what they do. I'm not a big micromanager. I'd much rather give them the freedom to do what they want to do and then look at it from the big picture. Okay. Anytime I start to get into the minutia, that's where it goes bad. It's just not my skill set.
So you would do recruitments and...
Yeah, I already have over 100. I already have like 100 and... I'm in the 40s now because we're starting to vet some of these people and they're not what we want. Because I just don't want to bring any person off the street.
Sure.
I want the law enforcement officers that got out of law enforcement because they were frustrated with the status quo. They were frustrated with the bureaucracy, and just the sheer amount of BS. And I want to take parts of the corporate world. I want to take parts of the military, and I want to infuse them into that organization.
And that brings me to this. In recent years, I kept hearing about people perceive law enforcement as per se military because of the weaponry, because of the way they dress, because of the tactical like uniforms and stuff like that. A lot of people have that they are being like a military. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say on that?
Well, I go both ways. I think that there's a time and a place for that because right now it's very dangerous. The criminals now, they have zero qualms of pulling out a firearm. Heck, there was a sergeant that just got into a shooting last week on West Side. They shot up his SUV. Another officer ended up having to take care of the situation. Thank God nobody. But you shoot at the police. When did it become okay to shoot at a police officer sitting in their vehicle, minding their business. You know, I talked to a group of students yesterday, high school students, and I said, you know, what's your mindset on the police? Everybody's like, oh, defund the police, you know, do this, do that, you know. Well, they're the ones that protect us, right? If we had no police, and I said to this kid, you know, I said, imagine if there really was no police, right? And I set him up for failure, so to speak, because I wanted to prove a point. I set him up to where he would think, oh, okay, there's no police. I could take care of myself and maybe watch out for the criminals. And I said, bro, listen to me. The police are not there to protect you from the criminals. They're there for law and order, right? Keep things. I said, if there was no police and this was a lawless society, who's going to protect you from me? Mm-hmm. There's like over 1 million middle-aged combat military. And listen, that global war on terrorism, there's a whole generation of soldiers in this country that know nothing but combat.
Yeah.
I know people that are in the military that have 35 and 36, 37 combat tours. 37.
Whoa, that's a lot.
One combat tour spans like 6 months. So do the math. If you have 37 of these deployments,
that's bringing
that's a lot. You know what I'm saying? And there's plenty of them. So it's not like this person's in a statistic. Mm-hmm. So my question to the citizens is, it's not the current criminals that you got to worry about. It's the people like me or whomever that, and I'm not saying that I want to go out and do that. What I'm trying to say is like the law keeps law and order, right? So there's a percentage of people that don't commit crimes because they're afraid of the penalties. They're afraid of going to jail. They're afraid of getting an interaction with the police. They're afraid of being taken away from their family. Now, if you remove all of those obstacles, let me tell you, I've seen when human beings are put in charge of governing themselves, some of us walking around, our moral compasses are askew.
Askew, yep.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it's horrifying. So we need the police, and the vast majority of them, they are good people. They are salt of the earth, nice people who got into this career because they really believe that they can make a change. They like helping people. Just like you have accountants that love to sit on computers and do numbers. Law enforcement officers, that's a calling inside. Mm. I don't see too many that sift through Indeed.com and they're like, Uline, Enterprise, police, benefits. I think I'll try to be a cop. That's not how that works.
No.
I'm not saying that some of them haven't done that, but the vast majority of us, it's in our blood. You know what I mean?
And I know a lot of people, especially minorities, that have misconception that police officers get paid a lot.
No. No. Which is why I didn't do. It's a part of the reason why I didn't do, all that time.
And we get bulletproof cars.
Yeah. No. That's the
pay,
sergeant. His car wasn't bulletproof.
Yeah, I bet. And coming on to minorities, do you follow any international politics? Because what happens is sometimes international politics does play a role into the county or in the state because of the potential riots, potential protests, maybe peaceful protests as well. But it could happen, bring a lot of people to the streets. Do you follow any international politics?
Yeah, I do. It like you were saying, you almost have to. Now, there's nothing in law enforcement that has to do with politics, except for what you're saying. Because we can't pick and choose what laws we want to enforce.
Correct.
We cannot pick and choose who goes to jail. We just can't. If you have a warrant out for you, that means that there was enough evidence for someone to sign that, a judge to sign that. If you end up in the jail, that has nothing to do with me. My job is to make sure that you are safe while you're going through your criminal justice journey. That's my job, is to keep you safe, keep you healthy, keep you fed, make sure you're to your court appointment, on time. That's my job. Courts, jail, civil papers, things like that.
So, as you say, you follow international politics.
Yeah.
What do you know? Any recent activities that you probably followed up on or anything like that?
Yeah, there's a bunch going on. Is there something specific? There's so much stuff going on now. So much stuff.
I got you.
Yeah.
And yeah, so what happens is, do you know any kind of statistics of Gwinnett County, because you're running for election? The statistics of the Gwinnett County, the percentage of
Yeah. We are so diverse. And as a matter of fact, I was watching a story about Imran Khan. You know him, the former Pakistani prime minister. I've been out in the communities a lot.
So you follow him as well?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, he's absolutely one of the, he's a fascinating individual. His moral compass is straight. You have to respect a man like that really cares. Because, I can relate to him personally. I sincerely care about this county. It's my home. I've been here my whole life. My family is here. So I want everybody that lives in our county to feel safe, to live in peace. And, things, I know that I'm not trying to have some unrealistic peace community. Stuff happens. But for the most part, we need to calm down, man. This crime is out of control. And, this man's moral compass does not skew. And I respect that. And I got to tell you, mine won't either. I'm not anybody's puppet. You know what I'm saying?
Like he said.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I am nobody's puppet.
So those of you who don't know Imran Khan, if you read up on it, he is the ex-prime minister of Pakistan. And right now he is, I believe, one of the most famous leader in the world as of right now. So if you want to Google that, that's fine as well. And
they came at him pretty hard.
Yes. Well, as I said, I can't get into politics,
right.
There's some things happen, and I guess everything will work out for the good for the community, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's say a deputy is called for service, and I want to call. I know Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office is not a full service, correct?
Correct.
Because it has a different sector as Gwinnett County Police.
Correct.
So can you differentiate a little bit because I know a lot of people are confused about what does a deputy sheriff does and what does the police do?
I like the responsibilities I like the law enforcement, the sheriff's responsibilities for law enforcement better than the police. The reason being is because police, you're gonna, if somebody calls 911, you got to go to that call. And a lot of times you're dealing with the public, and it's not always crime related. People will call 911 for all kinds of. So I did that for a while, and it was fun. But the sheriff has a very mission-focused set of responsibilities. So anytime you see a deputy on the road in a sheriff's vehicle, sheriff car, marked unit, They are going somewhere to do something very specific. Maybe they're serving a warrant or civil paper, or they're going to go enforce an eviction.
In Gwinnett County.
In Gwinnett County, yes.
Because I know a lot of counties have full service.
They do. There's a lot, actually.
And even though Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office is not full service, the deputy can.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the police department is very short-handed. They're struggling too. You call 911 in Gwinnett County, you have a very high probability of the police not responding, not because they don't want to, but because they're so short-staffed, they can only respond to emergencies that are in progress.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you are actively being attacked or somebody actively is going into your house, chances are at this point, they're just going to have to take a report after the fact. That's just the truth of the situation. So,
what do you think? How many deputies and police officers is Gwinnett County short?
Oh, geez.
Any ballpark amount? Any approximate number?
So, yeah, I do actually. So, the last I heard, the county authorized 631 sworn deputies.
New hires?
No, that's how many they're allowed to have.
Okay.
For their budget. I don't know what it is now. Really, I think we need more like 800, and I'll explain why. But from what I'm understanding, deputies, because there's Deputy 2, which is the deputy that you see with the pistol and the badge. Then you have a Deputy 1 that is responsible for the detaining, the jail and things like that.
Okay.
So we need a lot of those Deputy 1s. We need to hire a lot of those. And I believe we only have about mid 200s. I don't know the exact number. I've been told different things. If you're allowed 631 and there's only 200 and let's just say there's 270, 280, 260.
That's not enough.
That's not enough. I mean, you don't have enough deputies.
It's especially when Gwinnett County is so diverse.
Right.
So there's a population there.
1 million residents almost. The FBI says that we're supposed to have, I think it's like 2.5 officers for every 1,000 citizens. I thought it was 1.5, but I recently looked it up. Ratio.
So they're like close to none.
Right, exactly.
Seems like Gwinnett County needs more help.
They need a lot of help to citizen. And I have no service, but
it's all right.
Yeah. Anyway, so
that's good. I mean, you have researched about it.
It is. It's like two, it's like 1.5 to 2. My recent search said 2.5 for every 1,000. So that's not feasible. I mean, it's crazy.
So tell me this: what is one positive thing that you see from current sheriff or current government in Gwinnett County? What is a one positive scenario that you see?
Well, he is very active in his community. I have to say that any time that you can give back to the community is a plus. Sure. He has a great community affairs team that goes out and does stuff, interactions with the community. I think that that's good. And I also think that it's unnecessary right now. The reason is because of the shortages that are in the jail. Community interaction is paramount. There's no question about it. But do you sacrifice the safety and security not only of your deputies, but the men and women that are in your custody to maintain an image and go out? No. If you lost your job and you have a household and your budget and you've got cable television and Netflix subscriptions and, whatever. And you can't afford that. You got to start making cuts, right? Because your goal is to what? Keep the roof over your head, keep your car. Everything else, secondary. That's how I look at this situation. Yes, the community affairs section is important. Yes, the mental health task force is important. But is it more important than the jail or the courts? I don't think so. So I think at this point, what should have happened is all hands on deck. Jail, we got to get the jail, got to get the courts squared away. I mean, for crying out loud, your colleague, how can one person, and I don't want to judge anybody, but I'm looking, the question I ask myself is, you and I know each other, right? If I saw you struggling, my natural reaction would be to help you out in some way, offer something, take something off your back, right? How do the colleagues that don't do jail time or don't help or pull their weight? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm only answering these statements based on third-party information.
I got you.
I do have a set of firsthand experiences, but these are stories that I'm hearing from people that have served in that organization, that have left for various different reasons. And it's important to weed through because, I don't want to throw stones and make it look like I'm attacking just because I personally may not like the guy. It's actually the opposite. If you talk to Sheriff Kibo Taylor, he's actually a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, I've met him.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have anything personally against the guy. It bothers me because he's got no accountability. You're the freaking sheriff, bro. Like, it stops with you. You're the chief law enforcement officer. Why are you sending your chief deputy to your budget meetings? Why aren't you in the jail alongside your people? Why did you choose to barricade yourself in the office? Like, he locked himself in the executive suite. I've been looking to see where I could have a remote office inside the jail because that's my job. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so you would be with your colleagues now?
Absolutely. How else do you, if there's problems there or inefficiencies going on, who better than the men and women that are doing it every day to identify those things? I mean, why would you not? Some of these deputies have been there 20 years, 15 years. I mean, they know, they are subject matter experts when it comes to that place. Why would you not ask them, what can I implement as your leader or your boss or whatever you want to say to make your job easier or more efficient or better or safer for the people? Like, until you get down in there and put eyes on firsthand, to me, everything else is just speculation. You're just throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. And, he said that over the weekend. I was at a joint event with him. And I was sitting with other legislators, and retention and recruitment came up, and he made a statement about COVID and politics and not enough money. And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean not enough money? I said, Forsyth County is fully staffed. They're one county above us. So your argument for nobody wants to be in law enforcement immediately just fell through the cracks. Then you look at the other municipalities, they're pretty much fully staffed. So again, sir, your argument doesn't hold water. Now you look at the budget, and he wants to say, well, the county's not giving me enough money. Well, 3 years ago, The sheriff's office was pretty much fully staffed with a waiting list, and their budget was like $100 million versus now I think it's up to like 170. And you're still down over a third of your workforce. Like, dude, where's your money going? Why do you have these issues? You know, oh, and top of it, they gave like $20 million back to the general fund.
From the sheriff's office.
From the sheriff's office.
That's because it was never used.
Right. So you fast forward 3 years later, and my opinion, we need to hire like 400 people. And you're asking for more freaking money, bro? Like, seriously, dude?
And that money could have sufficed for...
Right. The truth of the matter is, and this is hard, it's not that nobody wants to be in law enforcement, bro. Nobody wants to work for you. And that's a tough pill to swallow. It is. It's embarrassing. Nobody wants to, you know, be like, oh my God, I'm a failure. But you know what? We all fail. It's I was raised to believe like, okay, you failed. Now what do? You blame other people. It's like the same thing with this campaign. You know, I've never been lied to more in my life. I've never had more grown men who are established business owners and members of society look at you, shake your hand, and everything that comes out of their mouth is a complete lie.
So what would be the one advice you would like to give for the current administration, sheriff administration?
Listen to your people.
Gwinnett County.
Yeah, listen to your people. Get unlock those doors. If I don't get elected, I hope to God he at least listens to what has been going on over the last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, canceling the jail dogs program, to me, I think that was the nail in his coffin. Why would you get rid of that? Not only am I going to bring that back day one, but we're going to expand it. It's an awesome program. It has a proven track record of success.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure having you here today. And once again, thank you for coming to Unscripted with Hashim, where we do uncut and unedited conversations. Is there anything you would like to let audience know or say something?
Sure, yeah. First of all, thank you if you're even remotely considering to vote for me. I pledge to be transparent and open and honest and put measures in place to make sure that transparency stays. I want to do the ambassadorship program because of how diverse we are. Have leaders from these communities come in, sit on my staff, and I want to hear what's going on in my community. I get in the car, I go down there myself and address these issues.
Okay.
Voting is on April 29th. Starts Monday, and it carries through May 17th. And then we've got the actual primaries on May 21st. So
they have three chances to vote.
You've got from the 29th through the 17th, you've got all that time to vote, and then you've got May 21st as your last attempt to do it.
Okay.
And I just want to say that I can do this job, and I will put the right people in place to make these decisions. I'm not perfect, but you know what? I will always tell you the truth, whether it's pretty for me or not. I will always be transparent and honest with the citizens of our county, and I'll be available. Call me if you have any questions. I will answer anything. I don't delete my Facebook stuff. I don't delete my nothing. I am who I am. And call me. My phone number is 930. What is my phone number? 470-930-1203. Email me. Hit me up on social media. I will answer your questions. Period. Call me. I'll meet with you. Get a group together. I will come talk to anyone. And I will work with people on both sides of the aisle. We have to.
Correct.
We have to do this. To me, it's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you for being here. And before I wrap up, please do comment. Like, subscribe my channel, and please also comment to see who would you like to see next on my podcast. And also, if you would write me, message me, or in the comments, how Joe did in his interview. I think he did perfectly well, and I do wish him good luck to him for his campaign, upcoming elections, and everything happens for the best. Until then, see you.